Also incompatible with evolutionary theory, but perfectly acceptable within a biblical worldview, is the presence of amazing phenomena such as numerous large sea creature fossils buried in desert land, as well as wonderfully preserved 46 feet long oceanic plesiosaurs, 49 feet long mosasaurs, pterosaurs with 30 feet wide wingspans, nodosaurs laying upside down on their armored backs with ankylosaur and hadrosaur dinosaurs, birds up to 6.5 feet tall, 16 feet long fish, 13 feet long turtles, crinoids, and sharks, all encased together in marine chalk beds hundreds of feet thick, deep in mid-continental Kansas. Likewise, evolutionists can explain why remains of large land dinosaurs, such as Plateosaurus, have been found washed more than 70 miles from the coast and buried 1.5 miles deep in the North Sea. Evolutionary paleontologists have documented similar discoveries of ankylosaur, abelisaur, hadrosaur, and other dinosaur fossils and marine sedimentary rocks along the coasts of North Africa, California, Oregon, Washington, and all the way north to Alaska. Secular scientists have admitted such findings are remarkably common and have now been reported in surprisingly large numbers since the early discoveries. Only the powerful hydraulic energy of a global flood could explain the burial location of huge ocean creatures on land and massive dinosaurs in the sea. Also irreconcilable with evolutionary theory is the fact that graves of various fossilized sea creatures are located on nearly every mountaintop in the world, including lofty Mount Everest. Overall, about 95% of the fossil record is composed of marine organisms, and remarkably, far more sea creature fossils have been discovered buried on mountain peaks and interior continental land masses than within the ocean floor. Clams, which are found in abundance on mountaintops, are able to quickly dig to the surface from under several feet of soil, so their fossilization requires rapid burial by a massive volume of sediment. They also only close their shells when threatened, so the sediment inundation must have been severe. While evolutionists cannot logically explain the overwhelming deposition of sea creatures on land, it is reasonable in accord with the biblical model to assert that waterborne organisms were carried, buried, and well preserved within sediment deposited on relatively young continents and mountaintops, uplifted by tectonic forces initially unleashed through the global flood, for this is what the scientific evidence suggests. The concept of a connected supercontinent and continental movement was not first proposed by evolutionists, but is rather suggested in Genesis 1:9-10, and was later defined by Antonio Snyder in 1858, but his work has been predictably ignored since he was a biblical creationist. As the watery fountains of the great deep, described in Genesis 7:11-8:2, burst forth with unprecedented hydraulic energy for 150 days from the newly created 46,000-mile long mountainous mid-oceanic ridge, spawning numerous megavolcanoes, continual extreme earthquakes, monstrous sediment-stirring tsunamis, and violent tidal surges, the supercontinent quickly fractured, and the fragments, which exist as our current continents, literally sprinted apart from each other. Potentially related to this event, remote sensing has shown that at least 10 asteroids created what are now sediment-covered subsurface craters, more than 25 miles wide across Earth, and it is certainly possible these monumental space rocks struck during the Great Flood, which would have further weakened our planet's structure. Many experiments over the past 45 years have shown that mantle rock under extreme stress, such as would have been the case following the influence of global flooding, fracturing, tsunamis, surges, earthquakes, volcanoes, and potential asteroid bombardment, can become at least 1 billion times weaker and then move rapidly like fluid at several feet per second, which means it would have required little time for catastrophic spreading of the continents to near their current locations. The massive zebra-striped stretch patterns parallel and perpendicular to rift zones, mid-Atlantic ridge where Europe and Asia would fit nicely the shape of North and South America like puzzle pieces, mountain belts formed in tectonic plate collision areas, and deep subduction trenches where continental crust has submerged beneath the ocean floor are great evidence for significant past continental movement and can be easily seen from a simple Google Earth search. Polystrate plant and animal fossils extending through different evolutionary ages in the geologic record are another major obstacle for evolutionists since they provide further evidence their dating scheme is seriously flawed. Many polystrate trees throughout the world have been found encased in and extending through several layers of sedimentary rock, with the tree tops no further decayed than the lowest segments, which indicates the trees were covered quickly and completely by sediment-laden floodwaters, not over a long period of time as rock layers slowly accumulated. An evolutionary professor once discovered a fossilized shellfish shaped like an ice cream cone standing on its tip and reported that it spanned two different geologic layers, which were supposedly separated by 20 million years. Based on evolutionary theory, the shellfish must have astoundingly stood on its tip for 20 million years without falling or decomposing, as it was slowly buried by soil. In reality, shellfish and other living organisms can be preserved by fossilization only if they are rapidly buried under watery sediment. Another striking example of a polystrate fossil involves a well-preserved skeleton belonging to an 80-foot-long baleen whale unearthed by miners in Lompoc, California during 1976. The whale was found slightly tilted in diatomite with its head pointed upward and tail downward, which, according to the evolutionary dating system, means this creature must have remained standing on its tail, undecayed, for several million years while it was slowly covered. In sharp contrast to this perplexing claim, it is quite reasonable to conclude the whale's enormous body was transported, encased, and preserved in a nearly upright position by a massive flood and subsequent volcanic activity that quickly covered it in several layers of diatomite before scavengers and natural elements could dissolve its remains.